So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how much I spent to open up Gamer HQ. I'm going to tell you what I spent my money on, what was worth buying, and what I regret buying. And it's a lot I regret buying. So, I won't make you watch the whole video to find the final number. I hate it when videos and YouTubers do that. So I'm just going to give you the big number now, tell you exactly how much I spent, and then as I go through the video I can show you the areas where I spent the money on, areas where I wasted some money, and you can kind of get a full breakdown then of exactly what I've been spending. So to open up Gamer HQ, what it cost me was £53,400. And now I said it out loud. Oh my days. Yeah, so that's how much it cost me to open up Gamer HQ. There's a lot of money that I didn't kind of expect to spend. So when I got the lease and when I planned everything and worked out how much I'd spend, and my budget was 40. Obviously I went over 13 grand from there. Things just, when we got the lease, the place was in a worse state than we thought. Things like electrics, the plumbing. I'll go through each area, but it got to a point where, yeah, things just escalated. But it is what it is. I'm glad that we got it open when we did, and we are where we are. So probably the first bit to go through would be the actual venue and the fit out costs. So when we got the lease, we had to pay a deposit and 2 months rent. We had to pay 3 months rent in advance, but I managed to negotiate a month free rent period. Wanted a lot longer. The problem was the location we wanted, Ramsbottom, there wasn't a lot of properties available, which caused us to kind of pick this place, which I weren't 100% on, but it was the best at the time really, and we needed quite a big venue as well, so we just had to accept it. But I managed to negotiate at least a month free rent. So that came to £2,500, just a tiny bit more, but I think, like I said, that was 2 months rent, a fee and the deposit. So legal fees, I didn't have many because I had a friend that went through a lot of the lease with me. He does this for a living, so that saved me a lot of money. A couple of beers, as mates do. So that weren't the only cost though. So I planned to open within them 3 months. So that 3 months was just going to be a fit out, and then I can open. It didn't quite work like that. It cost me an extra month to open, just due to the amount of work and what needed doing. So that was again another rent payment. So yeah, so some of the boring stuff we spent. So the electrics was 1,500, which sounds a lot, but the place needed a whole rewire. And the fuse board that was in a really bad state. The wiring, so whoever had this before, they built a second floor to it, but what they didn't do is change any of the electrics. So all these barriers there was plug sockets behind it, and you had to get them all out. It was just in such a bad state. There was wiring that would burn, and it was just easier just to start again and get a friend. Again, labour costs included in that because I had to get someone to sign it off really, as well as do some of the work that I couldn't do. Plumbing, we spent 2,000 on plumbing, which sounds more when you think electric's only £1.5 grand, but that was for a Saniflow as well. Where the premises that we're in, the waste pipe is on a higher level. The toilet is built on a platform to allow for it, and we couldn't find the stack outside. It was just the way they built it. It was crazy. So it was either get a Saniflow or do a lot of digging and whatnot. So it was easy just to get the Saniflow, which cost £500 plus the sink in the kitchen and the disabled toilet fittings as well. So obviously that room was just a blank room. That room used to be a kitchen, and we turned it to a disabled toilet because it's the only place big enough for the door and the regulations for the size of it. So that was plumbing, electrical. The fire alarm, this is where I made a mistake. So I bought quite a fancy fire alarm system, thinking it would be the best thing to have in here. Stupidly, I didn't look at the full regs that we needed, and it was too much overkill. So we've just got a connected fire system and a smart one. So it tells me if the place is on fire, all the alarms are set up. We have a full system in place. So like in the disabled toilet, you need a strobe. If obviously someone's deaf in there or something and stuck in there. That included the fire alarm and the fire chap that came round and fitted our extinguishers and checked the place and did our paperwork for it. So the fire system that we bought in the end was £200, and the fire guy that came was £600. But that included the fire extinguishers and checking the place and helping us fill in the paperwork for what we needed to do. So on to the fun stuff, what you came here for, and that was the gaming equipment, how much that all costs. So that's probably, of course, is going to be the biggest expense. We spent on the PlayStations, we bought 8 of them, and that cost £2,600 or something. Luckily, when we bought them, the Switch 2 came out, and PlayStation had an offer, so it was like £100 off each console. That saved us £800 really, so that was good. What we didn't save much on was the Xboxes, so we bought 4 of them, and that was nearly £2,000 as well. When I set it up, I did a survey to see what was the favourite consoles and what people would want, and PlayStation came out on top. I kind of regret doing that a bit. I should have just gone 50-50 PlayStation, Xboxes, because it is, when the games come and play, it is half Xbox, half PlayStation. So yeah, like I said, we've got 8 PlayStations and only 4 Xboxes. It's not been a problem, but I do kind of wish I went 50-50 on that. Switches, they were the dearest part, so we bought 7 of them for the Nintendo room, and that came in at nearly £3,000. And getting them was an absolute nightmare. So it just got released as we were setting up, so there was no point buying the ones. We wanted the better ones, obviously the 2s. It was very restricted. Obviously, you can't just go in and buy 7 Switches, so we had to kind of do it on the slide, where we reserved one at one shop, reserved one at another shop, then went in for the midnight launch. I got me, my partner, my sister-in-law, she got one delivered, and we managed to work it out to get the 7 that we needed. But yeah, again, that cost a bit. What I didn't expect, which cost a fair whack, and this is at £1,000, is the extra controllers. So obviously when you buy a PlayStation, you buy an Xbox, you get 1 controller, but when you're playing games like FIFA or things like that, you need 2. And that wasn't, for some stupid reason, I didn't budget that. So that's an extra £1,000 in the budget that I didn't expect. Also the Switches, the Switch 2s, we use the Pro controllers. The reason being is they're a bit more robust, and whilst they do suffer with stick drift, I believe, they don't suffer as bad as the Joy-Cons. Plus the Joy-Cons aren't really robust enough for an environment like this. You've got to think, when you're at home and when it's your device, you look after it, you take care of it, you make sure it's not. When you're in somewhere like this, you're in the moment, you're in the game, it's not your equipment, so you don't treat it with the same respect. So we have to make sure that we've got that robustness, and the Pro controllers works well with that. I kind of regret buying them. I should have bought maybe a third-party one, which would have saved us a bit of money on the Switches. We bought the Switch 2 Pro controllers, but it is what it is. They've done as well so far. We've not had any problems, and we keep the Switches in a case so that kids can't get hold of them, and obviously they're playing on the TV with the Pro controller, and that saves us as well a bit of wear and tear. So yeah, so controls cost me £1,000, and again, what I probably didn't budget enough for were the games itself. So when you set up a gaming lounge, you're allowing the public to play the games. The licensing on a lot of the games means that you can't rent them out, as in, I'm trying to think of the best wording. You can rent the game out, but that also includes a public kind of playing on them. It's a grey area of where we operate, so technically we can, but it's a bit hit and miss. So I've always gone in to the fact that don't take the mickey and we should be okay. So every console has to have a game. We don't share accounts, don't share anything like that. So a good example would be FIFA. We bought FIFA 25, and then when FIFA 26 came out, we had to buy it 10 times, I think it was. Two of the PlayStation we didn't buy them on. When Pokemon came out, we had to buy it for the 7 Switches. Battlefield, again, you have to buy them for each console. So it's a cost I didn't expect. And on the initial games, I spent 6,000, just a bit over 6,000, just to get all the games on all the consoles and the PCs and things like that. I've got 114 transactions to kind of show you how many games we bought. Luckily, and again, this is probably where I made some of the mistakes. We bought games that, like Pokemon, I bought them for 7 consoles. It only gets played once or twice in a session. So I probably could have just bought them for a couple of the Switches and worked it out a bit better. It happens, it's life, I've done that now, I've learned from that. So like Donkey Kong Bonanza, that's quite a popular game for people to play, but I've only bought it for 2 of the Switches and it's working out great. Like I say, there's only a couple of people that want to play it, if that. Luckily as well, some of the games that the kids really enjoy, like Fortnite, is free. We don't buy V-Bucks around like that. It's just you play it as is. We get mithered for them, but yeah, there's going to be more. Obviously, when games come out, we need to work that out, and that's going to be a big cost. But to set up, yeah, we spent just over £6,000 on games. TVs was a big one as well. So we bought 19 TVs. They varied in cost, but altogether we spent £4,700 on TVs. Again, probably more for marketing we did that. We wanted it so upstairs was 4K, so we bought 4K TVs for each of the PlayStation, Xboxes. The Nintendos, we only got, I think they're 1440. And the TVs downstairs for the VR, they're just HD ones because it's just streaming what they're seeing in the headset. But yeah, for the TVs we had a spec of fast resolution, fast frame rate, 4K, things like that. So yeah, that was a big cost. Yeah, so that was the TVs. The next bit were the monitors, the PCs. So again, this is one of my biggest regrets, the PCs. I wanted 6 PCs for the unit. I went out and tried to find the best I could get. So I thought, if I get 4 PCs, I can get some really high spec ones. It'd be brilliant, it'd be great. Bought these really high spec PCs. I made 2 of them, and I bought 2 already made. The reason being it was cheaper due to the memory prices to buy 2 already made. Problem is all I do is the gamers play Fortnite on them and Minecraft and Roblox. So I've got 4 ultra high spec PCs that aren't really being used to the full potential. Even the adults, when they play on them, they're not really playing games that require the power that they have. So I feel a bit like that was a bit of a wasted money. I'd rather have got kind of dropped down a spec or 2, and that probably would have saved me enough money to buy 6 of them, and the monitors and everything else with them. So yeah, that's a big regret of mine, buying 2 high spec PCs. So for the PCs, they ended up being 2,200 each. So that was, how much was that? 8,800 altogether for 4 PCs. So yeah, not the best. After that will be the monitors. So the monitors, again, because I wanted 4K high refresh rate monitors, they came in at £300 each, which was a bargain really. They were monitors that were on sale. So I was just lucky getting them. I've not seen them at that price since. And that obviously that came because I got 4 of them. It came to 1,200. The keyboards and mice, I think they came to a couple of hundred each in the end. Sorry, a couple of hundred for all of them. They weren't that big of an expense. The mouse was actually more dearer than the keyboard, weirdly enough. But again, I went really high spec, high dot per inches for the mice. That a few people have commented how good they are, but a lot of people don't really notice or care. So again, I probably could have saved some money there, but I've got the better ones. So that's key really. I think that's the main equipment. Also, I've included in that bracket is the furniture as well. For the Nintendo room, we got beanbags, gaming beanbags, which makes it a bit more comfortable, I think, in that room because it's so small. Like, couches wouldn't really fit, and they're quite popular. The problem is I love them, but the kids use them to build forts and to build God knows what, or throw them at each other. So perhaps I should have got something a bit more stationary, and they come to 420. I could have got cheaper ones. I got game over ones because we had one at home and I knew that they were good quality. But I probably would have, if it was to replace them, I wouldn't replace them with the same. I'd get probably cheaper because they get that messy and that abused that I think I'm going to be replacing them soon. So we'll see what's what. Then the couches. So in the main room, we've got couches. Again, this is where I think I should have gone a bit more, spent my money on them. I got some cheaper ones, some Habitat ones. They're great, they're really good, and they fit really well where they are, but they're not very comfortable. Again, I don't think it's a big issue because when people game, they're only gaming for a couple of hours, so they're not here all night on them. So it's not as big as an issue really that I'm probably making out, but I think if I was to do it again, I'd get more comfier ones. So yeah, that's the good bits really. Some other ones there with the VR headsets. So we got the MetaQuest 3s. I was looking at some options, so I was looking at ones that work with PCs. They're really good, but the problem is they have a cable, they have a umbilical cord. Now, because I've got young kids playing them, that would have been a bit of a nightmare because it just got ruined. With the MetaQuest 3s, they're wireless, they're simple to put on, simple to take off. Battery life is rubbish on them, but we've got some headsets with interchangeable batteries that just kind of like with magnets fit on. So what we do every now and again, to swap them over, recharge the batteries, and just keep it like that. And that keeps us going then for the day, because when I first opened up, I didn't get them, I just got the headsets. It didn't last longer than an hour and a half. So kids would be disappointed. If we were open all day, they would get upset really that they couldn't play the VRs because it was on charge. So the battery ones have helped. So I think I spent over £1,000 on the headsets, the battery packs, the spare batteries on the headset. And like I said, there's some TVs there above that stream from what the headsets do. So the parents and everyone else can see what they're playing and have a laugh when they're playing the roller coaster one and they get a bit ill. That was £1,000. Where the headsets are, we built a padded enclosure for safety really. When the kids have got the headsets on, obviously they can't see the environment that they're in. And a good game that they play is called I Am Cat, and a granny chases you with a frying pan. But the problem is some of the children, especially ones that are a bit more sensitive to it, get a bit scared and try and physically run. And the amount of times I run straight into them walls, it's been funny. And a bit upsetting as well, because obviously you don't want them to hurt themselves. So luckily, because we padded it up, it's quite safe in there, and the floor's got a rubber matting, which helps because the kids just, if you're not watching, they'll just throw the headset off, and they can get damaged pretty easy. So that helps. It's kind of, I'm glad we did it how we did it, and it looks really good. We did that ourselves, so I just bought the wood, the foam and the vinyl, the pleather to go over it, and it looks really good. But we did have someone come in who's like a professional upholsterer, and he would have done a fantastic job. I've seen his stuff on Facebook, and what he's doing it looked amazing, but it just came up at a higher budget, especially because it was also over budget at that point as well. So to get the bays in, that was another £800 with the pleather, the foam and the wood and all that putting in. So yeah, that added up, but it's all good. I think the VR is one of them. I like it. It's a good selling point for the venue. All the kids love it and they play, but it is very time consuming. The kids, a lot of the kids don't have it at home, so they need help to get it. You've got to fit it on the head, you've got to then put the game that they want on, and because there's only two, it gets that busy that you're constantly having to change up. Like, right, okay, you've got 8 minutes, we set a timer for 8 minutes, right, you change off, then it's another changeover. So it's a good and a bad thing. It's a good selling point, and the kids love it. But again, it's one of them where, because it takes up so much room as well, maybe if I was to open up the venue again, I'd have a rethink about the VRs. So yeah, so that's all the fun stuff really. No, desks. Desks was a kind of a bit of regret as well. I got some desks that had these LED lights in, and it looked cool, but they're just such poor quality desks. One of the plugs has failed, 2 of the LEDs have failed, they're not very sturdy. Yeah, I wish I spent a bit more money on some decent desks, even if it didn't have the LED part of it, if you know what I mean. So chairs as well, so we've got chairs that have LEDs round, and again, they look good, but we've had one overheat, we've had another that just won't turn on. So again, that's kind of defeated the point of that. So a bit of regret. I wish I just got some plain chairs, spent a bit of money on a bit more better quality, because we're always having to tighten them. But they'll do for now. There's not a problem. It's no rush to replace them. They're functionally working, they're safe. But yeah, just not as jazzy as I hoped. And again, they come to a couple of £100 each for the chairs and the desks. But yeah, I think that's probably the fun stuff really. So next would be the kitchen, how much the kitchen cost. So this is our little kitchen / serving area. This room was just an empty room. There weren't any, it was very mucky, the wood was horrible, it was like this weird laminate thing. This wall was just missing a lot of stuff, so in here probably cost a lot more than I thought. So if I go through some of the things that we bought in here, so the main one is the coffee machine. So the coffee machine, that I bought that second hand, and again, that's a bit of a regret. I thought if I buy it second hand, then I don't have to lease one, I don't have to worry about it, so I'd rather spend the money on a decent second hand one. And I went with one called WMF. Looking at the reviews, probably the best kind of coffee machine that you can buy that we wanted. We wanted a bean to cup one. So all you do is press a button, it makes your coffee, there you go, you're done. And it makes, using fresh beans, fresh milk, so it makes a good coffee. Not barista style, you know what I mean? You'll never beat that barista style one with a bean to cup one, I don't think, but it makes close enough that we feel good about selling it. But the machine itself, that was £950. Again, on the scale of things, it's not that bad really, considering the £7 new. So, and it came with a fridge as well and stuff. So yeah, it's one of them. So that was £950. So we've got a fridge behind me that's you store all the soft drinks in. That was £450. Again, that was a seconds, so it has a bit of a ding at the side, but functionally, it's fantastic. There's no problems there, so that's not too bad. I bought a catering fridge with a surface on top that you can prep the food for the buffets. Again, that was, I think it was £750. Again, a seconds one where it had been returned. There was a ding at the back and one at the side, which you can't see. So works perfect, it's brilliant. The only thing is it's very energy hungry. I kind of should have paid a bit more attention to that. It costs a fair bit to keep on, but it does its job and I can't complain at that. The kitchen itself, physically, we had to put something called hygiene panel on. So to get in the UK we have and probably in other countries as well, you have a hygiene rating. So part of that hygiene rating, part of the look at things like how easy is the kitchen to clean, and one of them's like the walls, there's already paint flaking off, is the stuff that could possibly contaminate food, or so you can buy something called a hygiene panel, which is just like a plastic panel that you glue onto the wall. You fit a strip to it and then connect the net one to it, and that gives you a perfect clean surface that you can keep clean. It's very maintainable, but it's quite expensive. That cost, I think it was £800 for the vinyl, plus all the adhesive and all that lot. So that added up. Ceiling as well is very similar. It's a plastic vinyl ceiling that allows us to keep clean. Not that a ceiling gets mega dirty, but it allows us to keep the hygiene standards high, which we wanted, and we managed to get a 5-star rating due to things like that. So again, that cost a fair bit. That was, I think, £600. Other bits were the shelving, and we've got a table that a coffee machine sits on. So anything in the kitchen doesn't have to be, but it helps if it's stainless steel, because again, you can keep it clean. It's easy to keep them hygiene standards. So that costs, and the shelving as well is all stainless steel. So I get a couple of hundred for all the extra bits. The sink as well, that part of the plumbing. But we have a heater underneath for hot water, and that costs a couple of hundred each for the sink and the hot water unit. We don't have a boiler in here. It's all electric. So you have to have hot water to wash your hands, to wash pots and things like that. So again, another cost. Yeah, so all in all, the kitchen came to just under £4,000, which wasn't something I budgeted for so much. I expected about two or £3,000. But again, I think the coffee machine didn't help in that matter, having such a big outgoing. So the cafe area, the cafe area wasn't too bad. The tables were, I think I got them at a discount, they were £100. The chairs were from IKEA, I think they were £20 each, so just 4 chairs. So say £180 per table. We've got 5 tables. We have the party bit as well, so they're picnic tables, because it's more modular then. If we've got a big party, we can put 3 out. We've got a small party too. And they were £100 each from Amazon. The bin as well, again, that was another 100. And the bits and pieces, something like furniture bits where we store some of the party stuff and things like that, like £50 of stuff. So it adds up, but the cafe area probably wasn't as expensive as I thought. So other costs were wood, building materials. So that I think the building materials is actually where I spent the most money that I didn't expect to. Wood at the moment, I don't know what's going on. Well, obviously know what's going on with COVID and stuff, but and inflation. Beforehand, the last time I bought some plywood was 2019. I think it was like £16. for a piece of plywood. Now it was more near £36 when this place took a lot of wood, especially upstairs when we built the walls to keep it safe, and downstairs where we built the understairs bit. So again, that added to a lot of cost. Paint as well, so that added up more than I thought, but that's probably due to the way we did it. So like the artwork upstairs in the Nintendo room, and downstairs as well, but that's all just black and white mainly. Other bits like screws and stuff like that costs more than you think. You don't realise you spent over £200 on screws and stuff, and you're like, how, why? But it's just stuff you need, it's just stuff you have to pay for. Yeah, so all in all, we spent £3,500 on building materials to fit out the place, and paint, like I say, paint. Another £600 on carpet tiles, and £200 on the grass. I managed to get it cheaper for the Nintendo room. So lighting came to £1,200, weirdly enough, more than I hoped. Upstairs we have a cloud ceiling, and I'm including the cloud ceiling within that, and that was a bit of a nightmare because it looks brilliant, it looks amazing, but it was a labour of love. We had to use special glue that would be fire resistant. So if there's a fire, you have to have a bit of period of time before it collapses or starts falling down, and because of the material we're using, you don't want a fire to come and burn and then it fall down on people before they have a chance to escape. So it wasn't just as simple as like what you've probably seen on TikTok of other people do. We had to kind of make it a bit more industrial. So that costs. And the lighting downstairs, the lighting panels, emergency lighting. So because of the way this unit is not a lot of natural light. So if the power goes, we don't want people, obviously, you have to be able to escape. So again, emergency lighting, that costs. And yeah, so so altogether, lighting was £1,200. The security system, so that came to, I think it was 2,000 or something. I'll find out for definite. So the reason being, we've got quite a good security system, and also networking as well, that's included. So the system, we've got Ubiquity, they do security, but they also do the networking side of things. And obviously, because all the consoles are hardwired in, and the PCs and the security cameras, that came to over £2,000 altogether. It's a good system, I'm happy with it. It's all remote as well, so I can keep an eye on it when I'm not here and stuff like that. And the networking is brilliant, the Wi-Fi is fantastic in here, so I can't complain at that really. It's just expense that has to be done. And obviously the network cabling as well, that's included within that. So yeah, so I think that was the bulk of the cost. And like I say, altogether that came to £53,400. Expensive, very, very expensive investment, but it's one I'm hoping will pull off, and I should hopefully earn that money back one day. When that day will be, I have no idea. Yeah, so what's next? I really want to kind of show you and bring you on this journey of running HQ and showing you how we progress and build the business up. So I really want to kind of show you, I've done a day in the life, I want to like show you a week in the life of running HQ. I want to show you the kind of like the behind the scenes. So my next video is probably going to be more about the maintenance of HQ and what breaks a lot, what needs a lot more of your time and a lot more of your effort, and how we set up like things like the PCs and the consoles and setting accounts up and how we manage all these accounts and things like that. So that's going to be my next video. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you give me a bit of an insight and not scared you off if you're thinking about doing something like this, because it's been amazing. And yeah, so I'll see you next time. Thank you.